When you look at the world today, it feels like we're facing this tangled web of crises, and the systems we've built to solve them just aren't working. So, what if the problem isn't any single crisis, but the outdated operating system our institutions are running on? Let's explore this idea of upgrading humanity's OS from a system built on fear to one that's founded on trust. So, first things first, we have to get our heads around the real challenge. It's not just a laundry list of separate problems, climate change over here, the economy over there. No, it's what people are calling the polycrisis. Think of it like a domino effect on a global scale. A breakdown in one area triggers a breakdown in another, which then feeds back into the first one. It's a vicious cycle. And when you boil it all down, what you're looking at is a massive failure of coordination. Our world is more interconnected than it has ever been, but our ability to actually work together to collaborate effectively, well, it just hasn't kept up. We are failing to solve problems together, plain and simple. Okay, so why? What's the root cause of this coordination breakdown? Well, the diagnosis points to something invisible that's shaping almost all of our institutions, a fear-based operating system. Now, this fear OS comes from a totally natural human instinct. I mean, it makes sense, right? When we feel a threat, our focus narrows, we think only about the immediate future, and we get defensive. That's what kept us alive for millennia. But here's the kicker. When you scale that response up to a global level, it does the exact opposite. It actually accelerates collapse instead of helping us survive. And this is where you can see it in action. That need for control, it turns into endless layers of bureaucracy that slow everything to a crawl. The fear of getting blamed for something, it leads to a culture where no one wants to take a risk, and so nothing new ever happens. This isn't really about bad people. It's about a system that rewards these defensive, paralyzing behaviors. And that's the real takeaway here. Fear isn't just some feeling we have. It gets baked into the very structure of our organizations. It becomes the invisible architect behind the rules and the hierarchies, and it ultimately chokes out the very collective intelligence we so desperately need to solve our problems. So, that leads to the big question, doesn't it? If our current operating system is fundamentally broken, if it's based on a fear that's no longer serving us, what's the alternative? What does the upgrade actually look like? The alternative is a pretty profound shift in how we do everything together. It's a move toward what we can call conscious collaboration. So what on earth does that mean? Well, it's about moving away from just reacting to things automatically and instead working together with real intention. It's about making sure the work we do lines up with our shared values and, with the health of the planet. The goal isn't just to be more efficient, it's to create results that are wiser and more sustainable for everyone. Okay, so how do we actually build this thing? Well, this new operating system isn't just a vague idea. It has a practical framework built on 3 core pillars. Those 3 pillars are radical trust, adaptive facilitation, and conscious governance. Together, they form the foundation for a whole new way of operating. Let's break each one down. First up, radical trust. And this is so important. This is not about being naive or optimistic. It's the opposite. It's a disciplined, hard-won ability to act together even when things are uncertain. It's trust that you have to actively build through transparency, real accountability, and a deep commitment to shared ethics. It's the bedrock, the foundation everything else gets built on. The second building block is adaptive facilitation. This basically means we need to rethink what our meetings are even for. Instead of just being places where we report status updates, we need to turn them into sense-making laboratories. These are spaces where we can bring together different perspectives to actually figure things out and let our collective intelligence come to the surface. And finally, conscious governance. This is all about redesigning the actual rules and structures of our organizations. The goal is to create systems that aren't rigid and fragile, but can actually learn and adapt. They have to be reliable, sure, but also flexible enough to evolve as the world changes. So they become self-learning and ultimately regenerative. So we have the diagnosis and we have the blueprint for the new OS. The question is, how do we install it? How do we actually reboot our future? Well, this isn't just about learning new tricks. It's actually more about unlearning old habits. It requires something called disciplined unlearning. We have to consciously dismantle these deeply ingrained reflexes, like seeing everything as a competition or only thinking about the next quarter. Those are the leftover instincts from the old fear OS. And this really lays out the 2 paths in front of us, doesn't it? On one side, you've got the old Fear OS, which gives you top-down control, fragmented teams, and short-term thinking. And on the other, you have this new Trust OS, which opens the door to adaptive governance, collaboration, and a regenerative approach that focuses on the long haul. The difference is night and day. When you get right down to it, this isn't just some technical upgrade. It's really a fundamental step in our evolution as a species. It's about humanity growing up, moving from a kind of extractive, reckless adolescence into a more regenerative adulthood, where we finally take long-term responsibility for our planet and for each other. So we're left with a really profound choice. We're standing at a threshold. Are we going to let fear and fragmentation keep spiraling? Or are we going to consciously choose to build the trust and the systems we need for a more coherent world to evolve? The architecture of our future? Well, that's up to us.